What made someone a magician or a charlatan in antiquity? How was Jesus different from a magician? What could Satan offer Jesus? The temptation of Jesus. Matthew 4:1-11, Luke 4:1-13, describes how Jesus was tested by Satan in the wilderness after fasting for 40 days. Satan tempted him to turn stones into bread, appealing to physical need. Satan then offered him all the kingdoms of the world in exchange for worship. Satan tempted Jesus to jump from the pinnacle of the temple to force God to miraculously save him, quoting scripture to justify it. Jesus refused, saying that one must not test God. First of all, do you really understand the Bible's story? Satan is telling Jesus that he can give the world to him. Luke 4:5-8. And the devil took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time, and said to him, To you I will give all this authority and their glory, for it has been delivered to me, and I give it to whom I will. If you, then, will worship me, it will all be yours. With what authority is Satan giving the world to Jesus? Jesus referred to Satan as the prince of this world, John 12:31, 14:30. Paul calls him the prince of the power of the air, Ephesians 2:2, and the god of this world. 2 Corinthians 4:4. The god of this age has blinded the minds of unbelievers, so that they cannot see the light of the gospel that displays the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. Bible as Matrix. So the Bible story is exactly like the Matrix movie. This simulation, this universe, this world is the domain of Satan. Then who is Jesus? Why, Satan has more power in this world, but Satan still wants Jesus to be his ally. Bible theology is like the Matrix. There are armies of dualism. They are fighting with their groups. As in the movie, members of groups can change their side. Like in Mount Hermon, some angels swear an oath and become fallen angels. Pleroma versus hymarmony. Satan wants Jesus to join his army, his forces, his dominion. In Gnosticism, pleroma is the ultimate realm of divine fullness and spiritual perfection, while hymarmony is a concept linked to the lower, material world of fate and limitation. Satan, demiurge, Yaldabaoth is the prince of the lower realm. Jesus is the emanation of monad, father in the upper realm, pleroma. In Gnostic terms, Satan is offering the lower realm to the prince of the upper realm. Miracles versus signs. Miracles are acts of the supernatural intervening in the natural. Signs are indicative acts that prove one's legitimacy and confirmation of a message. Since Jesus said no sign will be given, except the sign of Jonah, he performed miracles. His miracles were beneficiary to some people living in the world of Satan the demiurge. Miracles, signs of Satan. In antiquity some actions were by magicians, and since this earth is the domain of Satan, the source for their achievement was Satan. Flying in the air was one of them, as Simon Magus did. When Simon began to fly, Peter could only request his God to make Simon fall. Peter could not fly. Simon had superior force by the authority of the owner of the realm. There are different verses about signs in the Bible. In Mark 8 verse, we read that Jesus said that no sign will be given to his generation, but in Matthew there will be a sign of Jonah. Matthew 12:38-39. Then some of the Pharisees and teachers of the law said to him, Teacher, we want to see a miraculous sign, semein, from you. He answered, A wicked and adulterous generation asks for a miraculous sign, semein. But none will be given it except the sign, semein, of the prophet Jonah. Why did Jesus not perform the signs expected of a Messiah? Why did he not fly in the air, turn stones into bread, provide food for everyone, and fight Romans alone? These things could have been done only by a magician. This world is the realm of Satan, demiurge, and anyone who wants to rule over it must worship the devil, in other words, become a magician. Since Jesus did not rule over the world, he was not a magician in theology. Satan and Pontius Pilate, curious about who Jesus was. Flying through the air and turning stones into bread were typical skills of magicians as Satan tempted Jesus. While jumping, Satan quotes Psalm 91, in summary saying, "If you jump, your Father will help." This part is like Pontius Pilate asking, "Are you the Son of God?" Even Satan wants to see, if Jesus will be helped, who will help Jesus? Because normally in this realm, only followers of Satan can fly. Satan is really curious about if Jesus will and can fly. False prophets with signs. So Jesus had a reason to say that there would be no sign, because signs can be replicated by Satan. The world is the principality of Satan. Jesus warns that anyone claiming to show signs and wonders is a false Christ and a false prophet. Mark 13:22 For false Christ and false prophets shall rise, and shall show signs and wonders, to seduce, if it were possible, even the elect. This is exactly the New World agenda. There will be antichrists who can perform signs, to mislead herds. It is saying even the elect. Who are those elects that know the difference of wonders from Satan or not? Those elects are people having a deep knowledge of magic, sorcery, and can differentiate them. Secret societies will align with their messiahs with their false signs and miracles.